I'm Morgan, and today I want to share my thoughts on the play More of a Heart by Dave Osmundsen. And I watched the Zoom live stream of it, which I thought that was just amazing. I was so excited and happy to see that there was not only a Zoom live stream but a free one because that's just that is so amazing from an accessibility standpoint, because it means that it's okay, people who might not be able to tolerate the sensory issues that sometimes come with live theater can still enjoy the performance. And it also means that people who might be from different locales around the globe can watch it too, because this play is performed at a place called the Blue Barn Theater, which it is in a physical location that's not really accessible to the vast majority of the population. And so I was just really excited to have the chance to watch the live stream of this, because it's a play about I guess I'd say autistic lived experiences, because the protagonist of the play is a college student, a young man really, who was a boy with autism, and how he's kind of trying to develop his own voice, because for so long his mother's spoken for him. And I thought that was a story that it needs to be told, because there's so many, I'd say so many autistic people have had that experience of other people trying to speak for us. Yeah, I don't want to go into too many details about why I find that relatable, but suffice to say, it's I think that message is really one that resonated with me. And the play was very painful to watch. It was painful. I was trying, I put up I guess I'd say metaphorical walls when I was watching it, trying not to cry. I had to have some emotional separation there. Theater is so powerful in a way that movies I think of as just aren't as powerful as theater. Theater is just something about it's magical. Something about theater is absolutely magical. I loved the writing. I think the writing just hands down it carried because the characters were I could just latch onto them, and I got so mad at the mom character. I got so mad at her, but I could also understand her motivations. I think the author just did an amazing job. And also I love the acting. There is one thing I would like to point out though, is that the way the actors did the stimming, it's very exaggerated, but I think I know why that is. It's because it's live theater. And in case you don't know, with live theater, actors are oftentimes told to do things like making things more exaggerated. Facial expressions are always more exaggerated. You're always cheating out to the audience. And it's just because with live theater, there are going to be people in the back row who still need to see. And so it's I get that the stimming, that the characters, especially what is the name of the character, the character of Zachary, who was played by a man named Matthew. Zachary did a lot of very very over the top stims, and it's most people I think in real life are a little more subtle than that, but it's that's because it's acting. You have to cheat out to the audience. You have to ham it up with live theater. So I liked that choice. From a I guess I'd say directing standpoint, I thought that was a good choice. Let's see, I didn't look too much into the production crew and stuff, but I did like how there was what's it called, they had I noticed on the playbill that there was an intimacy coordinator or an intimacy designer, which I thought was a cool thing for a play to have, just because it's it shows that they're really watching out for and respecting the boundaries of the actors and creating a really safe space, and acting so vulnerable. So I'm I really liked that the theater had one of those. And I don't know, I liked, there were some other things I really loved too. One thing I absolutely adored was the choice to have Skittles rain down from the ceiling at points. Because, I mean, here's the thing, it's the Skittles were a manifestation almost, on stage of it's it's the trauma that the character of Zachary has from ABA. It's like that was something that was traumatizing, and the thing that stuck in his brain, the physical representation of that, or the icon of it, would be the Skittle. And so I loved the choice to really, like, especially at the end of Act 1, to have the Skittles fall from the ceiling. Like, I thought it was a good choice from a metaphorical standpoint, but also from a theatrical standpoint, it was just, it was so beautiful. It was so magical. And I loved the choice to have the actors have, I think in like Act 2, one of the actors was like actually eating pistachio ice cream. And it's like, I love those little things that it's like, you can just do with live theater that it's magical. I love it. I love live theater. I get that I was watching it via Zoom, but I love live theater. And I did really love the acting. Like, I felt that all the actors committed to their roles, and it felt believable. It felt believable, and it felt authentic, and I really loved it. I loved it. I loved it. One thing that was kind of funny to me is the character of Ben was played by a guy who's named Ben in real life, so I thought that was really cool. Yeah. I wanted to go into some of the like lines from the play that I just absolutely adored. There is this scene where the protagonist, Zachary, is like, he was essentially giving a very edited down speech that reflected what his mother's goals for the speech were, and he had this line that was like, "Those weren't my words," when he's talking about that speech, and it's just like, that's so powerful. It's so freaking powerful, because I feel like in life, so often, I feel like there are people who want me to just say, like, their message, who want me to promote their message instead of actually wanting to hear what I have to say, and wanting to hear my perspective. So it's just like, the line, "Those weren't my words," was just, like, I guess the word would be like a mic drop moment. It was just powerful. And also there was, another line I really loved was the character, Zachary, when he was talking to his significant other at one point in the play, he said, "You make things quiet for me." And I'm just like, that's so peaceful. Like, that's just so beautiful, because like I feel that to like my bones, to my core, because it's like, for me, it's like I get very overwhelmed by like sensory things, like loud noises and certain pitches and certain textures, and oh my gosh, smells are awful. Smells are really bad for me too. But I loved that it was like, he's like, "You make things quiet for me," and that's beautiful. That's just something I latched on to that phrase. I thought that was beautiful. Also, I loathed the character of his girlfriend. Okay, like, minor spoilers here, but the girlfriend is just, she makes me mad. And another note that I have, was, like, one of the speeches that, like, Zachary was writing for himself, like, that really showed his perspective. Like, I was just like, it's so authentic. My first thought of that was, like, it's authentic. It's so authentic. And then the mom had this line, like, that she called the speech disingenuous, which is just, like, the complete opposite of what that speech was. Like, the speech was authentic, not disingenuous. So I wanted to note that. Like, I love that juxtaposition. And oh my gosh. And so since this was on Zoom, there was a chat on the side, which was an entirely different experience than a lot of like plays are, because in plays you're quiet. So I love the chat at the side, because me and a few other people were just like saying our comments about the play as it was going on. And someone called Luke said, "In other words, mom's comfort equals greater than autistic person's needs." And I was just like, that is, like, I felt like that captured a moment in the play, but it captured like the lived experiences of autistic people in general. And I'm not saying this like in reference to my mother, because I think my mother's usually a pretty like, she's not a bad person at all. But it's just, I feel like in my own life, like, so often I've been taught subconsciously that it's like my actual needs are lesser than other people's comfort, and I'm still fighting to this day to overcome that internalized ableism. I think that's the word, internalized ableism. But yeah, I'm still trying to unlearn that idea that other people's comfort is more important than my needs. Like, I'm still trying to unlearn that, and it's hard. And I'm like, that line just, it resonated with me, even though I think that was like just someone commenting. Oh my gosh. Okay, and also I love the part where the character Zachary, he had this disagreement with his mom, and he was like, I didn't mind living away from you. That was the only good part about living on campus. And I'm just like, I don't know how to feel about that, but it's like, he was pressured to go to college even though it wasn't really the right fit for him, and he was more or less doing the college thing because other people in his life were telling him to go to college even though that wasn't what he really wanted. And I liked how what he liked about it really was that he had a sense of independence. He's finding a sense of independence, and I think that's something that is like, to an extent, that that's something that it's like, I think not just like autistic people, but I think most young adults face that, where it's like there comes a point in your life where you're trying to branch out and discover your, like, what you think is like your own ideas. Essentially, you're trying, like, people reach a point in their life where it's like they're trying to figure out, what do they believe, like, what do I believe, and what is just me mimicking other influences in my culture. So I thought that was just a really powerful, like, line. Okay, and there's this other line. Okay, so at one point Zachary is like, I think pissed or something, like he's mad, and he's like, he says, thank my speechwriter over there, because he feels like his mom's speaking for him, like he feels like someone else is speaking for him. And I loved the character Anne, because Anne just reminds me of like the Midwest nice, just type of like middle-aged woman who's like well-meaning, but is just very polite, and doesn't always, like, it just is not very confrontational, but is just still like always helpful. Like, I don't know, she just reminds me of people that I've known, and so I loved, like, I loved her as a character, and I loved the way the actor portrayed her. And she had this line where she's talking about like how she feels like it took her son having a boyfriend for her to kind of realize, like, hey, like to really like realize more about him, that it's like he's his own person. She needs to be happy for him. And like, she has this line, and how long have I viewed my Ben as a burden? And it's like, I love how she kind of realizes that it's like she's internalized a lot of the views that society has pushed on her, and it's like she doesn't want to see her child as a burden. She loves her son. She absolutely adores her autistic son, and she doesn't want to see him as a burden, no matter what society tells her she should think of her son as. So I love that line, and it's so true, because like, how do I put this? I feel like even though I know that it's like, this is America, like, one of our founding documents is basically based around the idea of all men are created equal, like, all people are created equal. And so it's like, I know that I shouldn't think of myself as a burden. I shouldn't, because it's like, I should have equal rights. Like, that's the entire premise of America, that like all men are created equal. But sometimes I still feel kind of like sometimes I still feel like a burden, and I think that's issues with like just the way that I've been treated by society. And it's really hard not to like internalize, I think the word's like internalize ableism, but it's really hard not to internalize a lot of the attitudes from my culture, the attitudes that have shaped our culture. And yeah, I thought the piece was just freaking powerful. And almost, I think the word is like almost cathartic. Like, it was a very healing play, but also extremely painful. Like, I think it's very valuable. I think it was very valuable. And it's just, I love theater as a medium. And I think theater can capture a lot of these like niche, raw stories in a way that films can't, just because with theater, you don't necessarily have like this big budget where you're having to be like, oh my gosh, we have to go with the safe sort of thing just to make ends meet, just to make it turn even. With theater, it's like the productions can be much smaller. You don't have to have a lot of like a huge giant like tech crew. It's like you can do theater with just a handful of people in someone's backyard. Like, I love theater in that it's like, it's so almost reachable, more accessible, more something that like anyone can do. Like, I love that about theater. And that's another thing that I really loved how More of a Heart, like they had a live stream that was like free on Zoom, so it's like I had the chance to watch it, and like I tried to do a good job of sharing it to my friends, being like, hey, this is at this time on this date. But yeah, I loved it. It was powerful. I thought the acting was amazing. I thought the writing was amazing, and it touched me and it was painful. So yeah, those are my thoughts on More of a Heart by Dave Osmundsen. And I hope that you're having a happy Autism Acceptance Month.